This right here, this single line, is really the key to understanding one of the most incredible, most profound stories in modern fiction. It perfectly captures a journey of just relentless struggle.
So today, we're going to look past the giant swords and the brutal fights to explore the deep, philosophical journey of its hero, Guts. You see, this isn't just a simple story about revenge. Oh no, it's about the search for meaning in a world that seems to have absolutely none.
And to really get a grip on the man Guts becomes, we have to start at his brutal, brutal beginning, in a world that gave him nothing. Literally nothing.
I mean, just think about this. Guts enters the world from the body of his dead mother. His childhood isn't really a childhood at all. It's more like a crash course in suffering, where the only lesson is to endure. The world doesn't teach him about good and evil, only about staying alive.
And this right here, this is basically the philosophy Guts is born into. Not because he read it in a book, but because it's all he's ever known. For him, the idea that life has no purpose isn't some deep theory. It's just the obvious, observable reality of his day-to-day life.
So, what happens when a guy who believes in absolutely nothing suddenly finds something to fight for? Well, that brings us to the first massive turning point in his life, his encounter with Griffith and the legendary Band of the Hawk.
I mean, just look at the difference. It's night and day. For the very first time, Guts has a reason to swing his sword that goes beyond just, not dying. He finds a purpose, he finds friendship, he even finds a weird sense of belonging, all by dedicating himself to Griffith's massive ambition. And then, this one sentence, overheard by chance, just shatters his entire world. The moment Guts hears Griffith say this, he has a horrible realization. He hasn't found his own purpose. He's just been a weapon for somebody else's. That dream he thought he shared, turns out, it was just borrowed.
And this kicks off a huge personal crisis. It's the first time he's really thinking for himself, asking himself if living for someone else's dream is any better than the meaningless survival he had before. So he makes a choice. He decides to leave and find his own path.
But just as Guts finally starts his search for a real personal dream, the world rears its ugly head to remind him that it's not just meaningless, it's actively hostile. And this leads us to the single most infamous, horrifying event in the entire series, the eclipse.
He's made his choice. For the first time, he's acting purely on his own will, for his own reasons. He's finally free. Or so he thinks. You see, in the world of Berserk, free will is a bit of an illusion. There's this overwhelming force called causality, a cruel, indifferent current of fate that has very different plans for Guts. At his absolute lowest, his rival, his friend Griffith, makes the ultimate selfish choice. He sacrifices everyone he ever led, his friends, his family, the entire Band of the Hawk, to be reborn as a demonic god. Everything Guts had found, purpose, camaraderie, love, is violently, horrifically torn away from him.
This isn't just random bad luck anymore. This feels personal, targeted. It's the ultimate confirmation of his deepest fear, that the universe isn't just indifferent, it's actually rigged against him.
And from the ashes of that absolute despair, a totally new Guts rises. He's not just a survivor anymore. He is an instrument of pure rage. He is the Black Swordsman. So what's his philosophy now? You could call it a kind of absurd rebellion. He knows he can't change fate. He knows he can't undo the past, but he can refuse to lie down and accept it. His quest for vengeance becomes this incredible act of defiance, his way of screaming, "I'm still here," into that dark, empty cosmos.
But man, this path has a terrible, terrible cost. In his single-minded hunt for monsters, Guts starts to become one himself. His rage cuts him off from everyone, it eats away at his own humanity, and it pushes him right to the edge of losing himself for good.
And honestly, this is where the story's true genius kicks in. The biggest, most important turning point isn't about Guts finally getting a victory over his enemy. It's about him winning a victory over himself. It's a fundamental shift away from pure destruction.
Slowly, through new companions he reluctantly lets into his life, Guts starts to remember what it's like to care. This introduces a whole new philosophy into his life, the idea that if the universe won't give you meaning, well, then you have to create it yourself, through your choices and your bonds with other people.
He makes a conscious choice to change his focus. It stops being about tearing down the man who destroyed his life, and it starts being about building up a safe space, no matter how small, for the people he's come to care about. And this becomes his new struggle, the real question he has to face every single day. Does any of this matter? In a world this dark, can a small act of kindness make any difference at all? And he doesn't answer with a big speech, he answers with his actions, day in and day out.
So, after this whole agonizing journey, what's the final philosophy of Guts? Well, it's all wrapped up in that one simple title he earns, the Struggler. You can literally track his entire evolution through these 4 steps. He starts by just endearing. Then he serves someone else's dream. When that all comes crashing down, he defies his cruel fate. And finally, he forges his own meaning by choosing to protect others. It's an unbelievably painful but incredibly powerful journey.
And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway from Berserk. The story argues that the answer to a meaningless world isn't about finding some hidden purpose. The meaning is the struggle. It's forged in the fire, through your actions, your connections, and that simple, stubborn refusal to ever give up.
In the end, the story turns this incredibly deep question back on all of us. Guts has given his answer, through a lifetime of pain and perseverance. The only real question left is, what would yours be?